So I made a video about a year and a half ago about bass traps I built for a home studio I was constructing. And to catch you up to speed in case you didn't watch it, I made them out of wood, insulation, fabric, and a whole bunch of other materials. And they ended up looking pretty cool. I documented the entire build and posted the video on this channel. And to my surprise, the video actually got lots of attention. I got tons of amazing comments from all of you guys, so thank you for that. And in that video, I also told the whole world to stay tuned for more videos where I build acoustic panels, an acoustic cloud, and finish my studio. But then a year and a half passed and I didn't post a single fucking thing. But the good news is, I did actually complete my studio. So in this video, I want to do a little tour showing you exactly how it all turned out. I'm gonna go over what I think worked great, what I think didn't work great. I'll go over sound measurements. I'm basically gonna do like an entire review of everything I've done. And I'm also gonna try my very best to avoid vocal fry. So thanks in advance for your patience in this long-awaited follow-up video. This is how my studio turned out. So the first thing I want to talk about is the bass traps. You can see that they look a little bit different from the ones that I built in my last video. I originally wrapped the bass traps in black fabric and then overlapped that with the white geometric design. But the problem with the black was my original idea with the studio was to have everything be white. Like, I mean everything, even the flooring. I even installed the whitest laminate flooring I could find. And I guess, I don't know, I just didn't really like the huge contrast between the black fabric and the white geometric cutout pattern on top. So I ended up finding white curtain fabric from IKEA and switched them out. And later on in this video, I'm gonna explain why white was actually a really bad choice. I also got a bunch of comments from you guys saying you didn't like the exposed screws from my original traps. And I agree, I didn't like them either. I originally thought it would look cool having the screws exposed, almost like rivets or something. But I ultimately just wasn't happy with the way it turned out. So after I replaced the black fabric with white, I also lined the edges of the bass traps with trim. And I completed it with baseboard, caulked the seams, and painted them. And the results were bass traps that were actually like built into the room. They were part of the room, not just hanging there in the corners. After that was done, I built acoustic panels for the walls and a cloud for the ceiling. And I apologize, I didn't get any footage of the actual construction process of these, but I will at least explain how I built them. They consisted of a 24-inch by 48-inch frame with a depth of about 4 inches, built from 3/4-inch birch plywood. And then I filled those with 2 bats of the same 2-inch rigid rock wool insulation I used in the bass traps. So one of the reasons why white was a bad choice for a color was finding breathable acoustic fabric in white was really difficult and expensive. What I ended up doing was finding white curtains from IKEA that had decent breathability, and they were the least expensive option for the size I wanted. Also, rock wool insulation is like a dark green color, which meant that when I wrapped white fabric around it, you could see the insulation behind it. So my way around this was to double up the fabric. So I literally had 2 layers of fabric wrapped around each one of the acoustic panels and the cloud, which kind of defeats the purpose because it makes the panels thicker and more rigid and less absorbent to sound. So what I would do differently next time if I, for some reason, chose white again, is I would choose white fiberglass insulation, not dark green. And because I use such dense rock wool, these panels were fucking heavy, like highly unnecessarily heavy. But I do like how I hung them on the wall. I used a French cleat system. This allowed for 1.5 inch airspace behind, and it made it super easy to install and remove when needed. Next was the hanging acoustic cloud. Essentially, I built this the exact same as the wall panels, except I built 3 and attached them together, so they created 1. Then I just located the ceiling joists or the rafters, whatever you want to call them, and I screwed in these super heavy duty hooks. Each one of them was rated probably for 150 pounds or something. And then I hung the cloud by chains. Chains were great. They allowed me to raise and lower the cloud to whatever height or angle I wanted. And of course, this was a bedroom, so there was a closet in the back, which I wanted to look cool too. So I ended up building this little closet organizer thing, painted it white, and I lined the back of it with LED strips because, why not? Everything had to look cool in here. I also installed a huge IKEA roller blind just to block out the huge amount of light that came in through the massive window, and that is pretty much it. So at this point, I'd like to share the mistakes I made with the studio and what I would do differently next time. The biggest mistake I made with this studio is just the room itself. It is a small, squarish room. A square room is the worst shape of a room for a music studio, in case you didn't know. Because when the walls and ceilings are positioned similar distances apart, they don't spread sound evenly. They create what's called standing waves or room modes, which is basically just certain frequencies building up and multiplying themselves, making them sound way louder than they actually are, or the opposite, certain frequencies completely canceling each other out so you don't even hear them. And that is an absolute nightmare for a room that you're trying to create music in or mix in. And I knew this going in. I knew the room was small and it was not ideal, but it's all I had to work with. It's the only room that I could turn into a studio. And I thought that if I just acoustic paneled the shit out of it, that I'd be able to trap all those problem frequencies and it would be okay. But it wasn't. The second mistake I made was not actually taking any room measurements. And I don't mean with a measuring tape, I mean measuring how the room responded to audio before making these things. See, a lot of people have commented on my bass trap video asking for before and after room measurements. In case you don't know what that means, there's a way you can basically set up your studio monitors in the room, place a measurement microphone where your head would normally be, and then play what is called a sine sweep, which is basically just a sound that moves through the frequency range from low bass all the way up to the high end. And then the microphone records how the room responds to that sound. And then software shows you what is actually happening in the room. It'll show you which frequencies are building up, which frequencies are disappearing, how long certain sounds are ringing out, and generally how uneven the room actually is. So instead of guessing like I did, you can actually see the problems. However, I am lazy and I didn't do that. So I'm sorry, but I can't provide you with actual before and after room measurements because I didn't take them. But I can provide you with my honest feedback that after I blindly completed the room and just hoped for the best, the room still didn't sound very good. I mean, it sounded better, but there was still so many ringing mid-range frequencies that sounded horrible, especially one right around the 120 hertz. So every kick and snare basically sounded horrible to me because it rang every time it hit. And the low bass was basically non-existent. I could only really hear it when I stood in the corners. And the only place to sit in the room that made sense essentially was the middle of the room. And the middle of the room in a studio is often the worst place to sit. But in a small room, you don't really have any other options. So to make my studio at least somewhat acceptable, I had to play around and position my monitors and my studio desk for hours just trying to find some sort of sweet spot. But honestly, there was no sweet spot. In my opinion, if you had to choose between a large untreated room and a small treated room, I would 100% every single day of the week push you towards a large untreated room because small rooms suck. They are the worst. Don't build a studio in a small room. And the third or fourth maybe mistake I made was the type of insulation I used. And yes, I got a lot of comments about this, and I know that this is kind of a controversial subject. Some people swear on low density. Some people swear on high density. The truth is, Acoustics are a complicated science. I'm not an expert on it. I was of the belief that the most difficult frequencies to absorb are low frequencies. So it makes sense that high density would be more capable of absorbing a larger volume of bass. But I don't think this is true. So I don't mean to spread any kind of misinformation. I don't have all the answers. All I have is trial and error. And that ultimately is what is going to give you the best results. Don't be like me. Take audio measurements of your room first. Don't choose a small room. Don't use rigid insulation. And last but not least, don't make your fucking studio white.